Welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Brandon here with Colton, and today we're doing the Arifureta deck that we played earlier this week. And Colton, what are we facing off against?
8 Pants Revue Starlight. It is the most vanilla thing you've ever seen in your life. The top end is pretty fun though. It's a good deck for testing things, I think, because it kind of lets decks do their thing while also being competent enough. So you'll probably see a little more of it going forward in these kinds of testing gameplay videos.
With that in mind, this deck is designed to put getting these level 1s on field, which is actually what happens here. I clock myself and am able to spawn out the level 1 onto stage, getting the reverse, getting the marker, so we're already going to be, with, as long as I get 2 more characters on stage, 8-5 on the following turn.
Yeah.
So it's like already big, already massive, we're still at 0. This deck is doing exactly what it wants to do here.
Yeah, and this is one of those things, this is one of those decks I think that you'll surprise people with. More than anything else, they'll see a 500, they'll just swing into it, maybe not read it, and then all of a sudden you've summoned out this 1-1 at 0. That just keeps getting bigger because you get the reverse defensively and then you get the reverse on offense. So now, like, I'm just going to 1 now, but I've got a 9-5 on board, and my deck doesn't really have a way to deal with a 9-5-1-1.
Yeah.
So you'll run into decks that can't deal with this, and you'll realistically, like, if you've seen this deck before, you're going to side into that 0. You'll let them get the plus with the 0, so that they don't get the future pluses with the 1-1. Like, you will let them. Mm-hmm. You'll let them plus with that little 0, because eventually they're going to have to crash it into a board.
Well, and that's just it. It also can be used essentially as the Kanan in the back row, so that way you could still kind of essentially use that to save something else important later, too. So it works out either way, whether or not it gets crashed into, or whether or frontal attacked, or whether it is sided and then put in the back row to save something else later. So it has that kind of potential to be able to be used in both scenarios, which is actually quite amusing.
I've already drawn 4 climaxes by the time turn 2 starts, and then I trigger another one, so we're off to a great start over here. Yeah, things are not going well. I'm able to use the free side attack on the level 0 bomb, which is nice, but things are already going poorly, and I don't have an answer for the 1-1 until I get to level 2.
And here I'm just debating playables, because I'm actively seeing that I don't have a lot of tools here to actually like step over things. Like, I have a bunch of 1-1s, so I'm like, okay, do I just spawn the 1-1s, but I actually go get the brainstorm to go get another piece to go get, just kind of help get some of those tools in play ready to go. I have a counter in hand, so I can actually like potentially win board here.
Yeah, this deck wants to play the counter game because, again, it wants to get those reverses, right? Because if it gets those 2 reverses on the first turn of the game, it goes to 9-5. If your opponent crashes into it again, or if you're able to keep it alive with the backup, then you're 10-5, 11-5 when you get the reverse. Now, your opponent's probably still at level 1, maybe early level 2, and they're looking at an 11-5 that they have to deal with. And that's something that even an early play will struggle to get over if you have a backup to deal with it. So, like, if you get that first reverse, if they attack into the 1-1 and you get that first reverse on the first turn of the game, and you're able to, spawn out the 1-1 from your hand, that's really good.
Oh yeah, and the fact that it can scale with your level is actually really fantastic too. I don't grab the marker here because it's an optional ability to look at the top card and then get the marker, because I know the top card is a climax.
This is a deck that's going to quickly lose its luster, like, once people see it.
Oh yeah,
it's not a difficult thing to play around if you know what you're playing into and have seen it before. So, like, you could definitely catch people out at locals with this. I think that's about where it tops out in terms of its ceiling. But, like, that 1-1 is not, it's not that. It's not difficult for modern, like, level 2 games, especially, to get around.
Absolutely, and like realistically, the big thing that it has going for it is it has just that surprise factor, as well as like the ability to bully boards that can't actually deal with it.
Yeah, no, this is definitely like this will bully small level 1 games, decks that don't run removal tech. This will bully that. And I'm drowning on my side of the board. Like, I keep drawing climaxes. I barely have playables, so I'm just throwing things at the board and just hoping that I do enough damage so that my top end has a chance. Because that's literally where I'm at. Like, I am bleeding hand. I'm not even worried about losing board at this point. I'm more concerned about just being able to present 3 attackers. Because I keep drawing climaxes. Here, I think about drop searching for my blinker, and that I know that that's the giraffe, not the blinker. The PR blinker isn't in Weiss Fight yet, so I used the giraffe as a placeholder. I decided to just go get combo again, like, just try to get something useful into my hand. I know I'm going to 3 next turn. Try to push some damage. If I can get you at least into the upper part of level 2, if I can get you at least, like, 2-5 or so, I give myself a chance to close next turn. I'm going to need to draw well, because I'll have 8 stock, but you need 7 for all 3, so I really don't have a whole lot of options. And I'm literally going to be down to 3 cards in hand. So I get the Ricky here, thinking maybe I can Ricky into something, but I still need to fix my hand for pieces, because we haven't gotten combo consistently, missed all of our brainstormers, drew a million climaxes. It's been rough over here.
That's fair. And realistically, I'm over here on this side just like, okay, I've markered 2 climaxes. I need to pay those out before the deck refreshes here in 1 card. So I'm actually going to end up playing over the 1/1 here, because I know that I have 2 climaxes markered there. And realistically, that's a reveal that only I know.
Yeah.
So like, knowing that as well as like, so like your opponent doesn't know, so your opponent doesn't actually have a decent idea of like what's actually been markered realistically versus what's in your hand.
Yeah.
So I think that adds some suspense as well here. However, when you get to level 3, you can actually answer this board now.
Yeah, I can finally answer the board. Not that, again, like, on my side of the table, I'm not even worried about answering the board at this point. Like, you're gonna get some marker compression, but there's nothing I can do about it, because my pieces to get removal never ended up in my hand, and to go get them would have been too stock intensive. I barely had any fixing pieces. I needed to use those to get my top end specifically. I brainstormed because I need to mill my last combo piece and hit the brainstorm in order to get my full board. I don't, so I just go get the shuffle back that also mills to make sure that I'm not gonna whiff this top check condition. Because I top check 3, I look for a soul trigger, and I put that soul trigger 3rd from the top. Because when I attack, I get to give that character, that Claudine, on attack when it triggers, burn 1 twice. So the goal is to do that twice with the healer that is actually the combo piece here. We trigger the pants. I know I'm going to be able to pay it out. I'm going to just go get another card from waiting room, but like, I also know that I'm screwed here. I have 4 climaxes in my deck, and 2 of them are in the top 3 cards. And there's nothing I can do about that. Like, if I tried to mill them, then I might whiff my combo condition. So I might not get my burns at all. You cancel both attacks off the top, so I don't really have much of a chance here other than to hope that 7 on top is clean, which it is not. So I do get the reverse, so I finally do get that marker compression off the board. I get the big body off the board, but by that point, it's just too late. I'm 2 out of 21.
Yeah, and realistically, it did its job. It had already compressed into the next deck, so... And at this point, I can just close out the game with my selective burns at the top. I brainstorm here just so that way I don't hit the climax, or try not to hit the climax, rather. Now I can select basically 0 through 3 as the card to ditch, so +1 to that for the burn. So here I can just ditch a 1 to burn for 2 and close the game.
Yeah, I don't think there was any mathematical chance I had of canceling, because I was 2 out of 21. Because I was just, did nothing but draw climaxes and trigger climaxes the whole game. So, and that's just 8 out of 50 problems. Nothing you can really do about that. But also not having any tool to really answer that 1/1 is kind of a problem. But again, it's not a deck you're going to run into very often. You can surprise some people with it, I think, at locals. I think that's where it kind of tops out, is surprising people who run 1K1s. It's an interesting package. I think the idea of being able to kind of summon a 1/1 out defensively, and it just keeps getting bigger as the game goes on, like, this is probably the best instance of that, you know, gain 1,000 for a marker kind of thing that we've seen a few times already.
Like, yeah, we saw it with ReZero, trying to get that early play out and get those markers underneath that early play early, so it can just kind of keep doing the same idea. This happens earlier, but at the same time is a little bit easier answered, especially with decks where they are now. But still, being able to kind of bring this out and have some fun with it, that's kind of what this was for, and I think it's able to do that effectively.
Yeah,
so.
I think that it is a it's definitely a fun package. It's a fun package that you can definitely catch people with.
I also want to point out it does actually standby, despite not actually triggering standby with cards in waiting room.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with the 1/1 is that it is like actually a good standby target, because it sits defensively at 7/5 even before it gets markers. So if your opponent crashes into it, you know, if you stand by it out at 1, your opponent crashes into it, just because it's there and they have to in order to do any damage, you're 8/5, then you get a reverse across turn, then you're 9/5, and then you can really start that. So, like, getting it off the standby is a very effective way to get that, you know, kind of that power loop going as well. We'll have another video on Tuesday, and then Friday, Christmas charity live stream, starting Friday at 6 p.m. December 15th for 24 hours. We're going to have a lot of guests, a lot of gameplay, a lot of stuff going on. Join us for that. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.
We'll see you then.